Is it the reason that you don't speak to your mother and the rest of your family because they are angry at you are becoming an atheist and giving up Islam?
I want to speak to them, but they don't want to speak to me because they're afraid they're going to burn in hell. My mother is put in the cruel choice that she either gives me up because I've become an apostate, or she goes to hell. That's a terrible choice. It's a cruel choice. And I think that's what we need. These fears, which we as Muslims all have, I think first and foremost we have to talk about it and say, I'm afraid of going to hell if I do this, this and that. And even by thinking it, even by speaking loudly, you know you're blaspheming. You know you're committing a sin. It's just that strong of a hold that it has on the minds of people.
There was something in you that was rebelling against this religion.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
It didn't come from anywhere. I think it's just the individual. That's just how we are. You know, if you look at terms like hypocrite, most of my life I spent living as a hypocrite anyway, because I was praying and pretending that prayer was affecting me, but I was only doing it because I was supposed to, not because I felt any connection with God or to whoever I was supposed to feel something with.
So all the time that you were a Muslim and you were practicing Islam, you never felt any spirituality or any connection with God?
No, no. And I felt the fear of hell. I think what kept me in and what kept me going was just pure naked fear, not the spirituality. It was all, first of all, it was my first introduction to religion was, I was a little girl playing around and my grandmother was praying. And as you know, in Islam, there's a moment when you go down and put your forehead on the ground and your bum up. And I thought she was playing with me. And so I went dancing and prancing around her. But when she finished, she got hold of me and bit me and started to scream at me that I should never disturb her when she's talking to God. And I was like, but when I cooled and calmed down from crying, it was like there was no one she was talking to. And I like to refer to that moment all the time to say, I was never cured of that. There was never anyone in the room, all those years. So I never felt any form of spirituality.
So you never talked to God yourself?
I tried to, but you know, the four walls don't answer.
Mm-hmm. So you ultimately, on your way to Canada to be with your new husband, who you had never had a sexual relationship with, you went off to Europe and ended up in Holland. And it was there that you began to read and study and question your religion. How did that happen? What was it that made you start? I mean, you clearly, if you didn't believe in God, you must have been drawn to those ideas and thoughts about religious scholarship. And
yeah, I was from the very beginning used to ask questions, and the questions I asked my teachers, Aziza and Boqalsom, were answered in the usual way. It's Satan talking to you. It's not the truth. Coming into Holland, a very secular country, taking political science, and especially political theory, and then learning about the history of how all of these societies and their frameworks, where they come from, and how they, you know, the period when there was no separation between church and state and the power of the church, and now that all of that led me to start to think on my own as well. But also while living in Kenya, I was introduced to reading and writing the English language, and I think that's when the seeds were sown, and in Holland they came to full growth and maturity.